Chicken Fillets here, and it's time once again for another remembering episode. This series, well, basically I remember about a video game, and it's done in one take, so if there's spoilers and if I make any mistakes, well, they're going to be in this. So today's episode is going to be about Final Fantasy IX, and whoa! Final Fantasy IX is one of the juggernauts in the Final Fantasy series, isn't it? Now, my first remembering of Final Fantasy, how did I get my hands on Final Fantasy, etc. So I remember Final Fantasy IX being advertised in the PlayStation magazine, the official PlayStation magazine. Now back then, you didn't really get access to the internet at all. So my sort of information gathering as such with any sort of PlayStation games coming out at the time was through magazines. And I always remember the magazine having Zidane on the front cover and it's stating Final Fantasy IX is coming, and I was so over the moon when that got announced via the magazine. Well, from my knowledge. Anyway, so up until this point, the Final Fantasies I had played was Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII. Now, Final Fantasy IX is the last PS1 Final Fantasy to come out, and it was just a return to form in the regards to the fantasy style of games, and it was Hironobu Sakaguchi's last proper Final Fantasy game off the top of my head before he departed Squaresoft. I think I'm right. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below. And I remember going into the city centre where I live with my parents, and we had money off vouchers for, I think it was a WH Smith, and we picked up Final Fantasy IX with the vouchers, and so amazing getting brand new games when you're young. So with Final Fantasy IX, the actual game in general, I mean, Final Fantasy IX, as I said near the beginning, it's one of the utter juggernauts when it comes to Final Fantasy, and it's one that I don't really hear people say any bad words about because it's that good. With Final Fantasy VIII, for example, there's a lot of people that dislike that game for X amount of reasons. There's some people who talk about Final Fantasy because they don't like it for that, X amount of reasons as well. But I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Final Fantasy IX. So, yeah, it's always seen as high regard. Now, my remembering of playing the game, as I mentioned just not too long ago, I say this quite often with most games because maybe I'm just easily amused, but I loved my time with Zidane and the party in this brand new world of Gaia. The mist continent that you start off with, over the full-on fantasy element was totally different for me as well, because what I was used to in Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII was more of a steampunk world, futuristic, whereas this was a fantasy sort of a fantasy setting, and I'd not been used to that with my games, so this was a real change of pace for me when it comes to my games. Also, having 4 people in battle, that was amazing. It was like, hold on, I've been so used to having 3 members in my party, now I've gone up to 4, and also having certain characters having certain abilities, so you had to actually think about what characters you wanted to have in your party depending on their skills. So for example, you could have Zidane, and then you could have Garnet as a summoner, Vivi as your magic, and then Steiner as your kind of powerhouse with the extra magic on it. Or you could change it up and have Adamant as your thief and Frey as a dragoon. So there were so many choices there, and that was really fun. But to be quite honest with you, I never really changed the... I always liked to stick with the main 4, which was Zidane, Dagger or Garnet, Steiner and Vivi. But what was also good with Final Fantasy IX is you got to play as a lot of the different characters from their perspective. So near the start of the game, where you were playing through as Steiner, who was protecting Garnet, you had Zidane trying to help Freya get to the her homeland in fear of invasion. It was just something else. And then once you get off the first island which is covered in mist, and you go to these other islands which had no mist, and you saw the sun clear as day, that was just ace. It felt totally different from the other Final Fantasies that I had played. The story in general had me gripped all the way through it, and there was no characters that I disliked. Every character was just played the role really well. And the evil, like, sort of Queen Briam, I think that's how you pronounce her name, she was an evil enemy, was she? Until we met Kuja, and it just goes, it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Another standout moment in the game is the section where Zidane finds out how he was made, and the section hits with the song You're Not Alone. And that always hits home when you play that part of the game, because you actually, because it's only like you're reading a script which comes up on the screen, the music really hits you, and it portrays the struggle that Zidane is having, overcoming this feelings and emotions, etc., and having all the party members turn up mid-battle to tell him, like it says in the song, you're not alone. One thing that I do really have a little bit of a problem with the game, and it's kind of its final boss. Now, the final boss to me, I think it was called like the Necromancer or Necron or something. That last boss just felt like a bit of a cop-out. I don't know what it was just out of nowhere. If Kuja was the last boss, I would have been happy with that. But I just felt that last boss kind of let it down just a wee bit. I mean, you can look past it with the rest of the game being so good, but that last boss just came out of nowhere. There was like kind of no link or well, I know there's a kind of a small link to what's been happening, but it just to me felt a small cop out. Also, I really liked the Chocobo part. There was a hot and cold part with that, which I didn't get too far, so I've never ever fought Ozma. And by the watching YouTube videos, I don't think I ever want to fight Ozma, because no doubt I get my arse handed to me on a plate. Favourite characters has to be, there's three which stand out to me in this the most. Like, they always tie is my favourite, which is Vivi, Quina, and Steiner, and this is mainly because of the faces that would be pooled in it, and me and my brother always send the face to each other. The music in this is amazing. I've put music in the background of songs from Final Fantasy IX. The one that always stands out to me is Steiner's theme as well. It's just so clumsy, and it really portrays him well. Now, what I also like to talk about in these sort of series is the future of a game series. Now, there has been rumours that Final Fantasy IX Remake is a thing, and it's been told it's going to be akin to the likes of a Crisis Core remake, well, the remaster that we had. So it's going to be sticking close to the original, but how the art style is going to go, how it's going to look, etc., how it's going to play, we're just going to have to wait and see if this rumour is true. But with it being on that NVIDIA leak, I think it's going to be coming out at some point. And there's also a that's another thing, Final Fantasy IX anime series. I mean, that's going to be brilliant. I can't wait to see that. But anyway, that's enough for me rambling on, and this has been another Remembering episode. So what I want to know is, what are your thoughts on Final Fantasy IX, and is it a game that you really love to play as much as I do? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like what you're hearing and seeing on the channel, please help me grow it by liking, sharing and subscribing, and please hit that notification bell to be kept up to date with everything chicken fillets. Oh well, until next time, tatty bye.